Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. I got blindsided.
I see that.
What happened?
It was different.
You took the reins.
I did.
I'm not used to this,
Well, I'll get used to it, baby.
but I think I like it. Here we are.
Yes.
Wait, I got to start with the hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Okay, there we go. Now I feel more comfortable. Here we are.
Yeah.
I don't even know what episode this is, what part it is.
The 5th anniversary of the first episode.
It's the
maybe?
part 3 of the episode that will be named later.
Yes. Well, basically, we are going to talk about vitamin D again
Right.
because the last time we recorded, we were leaving the studio, and our esteemed producer, Alan Lowe, asked us some really good questions about the sun and sunscreen, and we realized that, hey, we still have more to talk about. Like, we were going to talk about that, but there's just so much information. So we have a few more points that you're going to go over, and then I'm going to wrap up with some key takeaways.
And it was a sobering reminder that, and again, you know, we're evolving. We watch ourselves, and we have no problem, you know, with constructive criticism on how the show goes. And it occurred to me that now I'm going into a third part of a topic. So basically, we're going to start to narrow our topics a little more, you know, in its scope, and try to get good quality information out of a narrow scope rather than say, we're going to talk about everything there is to know about vitamin D in 30 minutes. It's not happening. So, you look surprised.
You always say things that are like, when did you decide that? No. I don't.
We talked about this.
Okay, so.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
Remember I said, for example, muscle. Then I said, all right, you know what? We're going to fine tune that a little bit, and we'll only talk about myokines.
Right.
Then I said, even that's too vast a topic. So we'll talk about only the myokines that impact brain health. Now we have, you know, something.
Okay. Yeah, no. All right. Yes, we did. We
did talk about that.
Yes.
You better get your myokines up and running for brain health.
I guess so. Need some creatine and such.
Creatine, yes. That's a whole. There's so many things to talk about.
Yes, there is.
So let's get on with it. Let's get on with it.
Okay.
We'll do the trivia question first, because I know the viewership are riveted for this next trivia question. Okay. As you know, I am very fond of the periodic table.
Oh, gosh. Yes, you are.
It's one of the things that I have memorized.
He has memorized it at least twice in his life that I recall. There may have been a third time.
Yeah, I think it's up to 118 elements, which is annoying. I was happy at 104, but look, that's progress.
Yes.
So, take a look at the periodic table.
I can't. It's not here.
Okay. There are only 2 elements that are liquid at room temperature. We'll answer that towards the end of the show.
Full transparency, I knew one of 2.
You did?
I did.
Okay.
I did not know both.
So you're telling everybody that we rehearsed this kind of stuff.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
He doesn't always. Just this time he did. Sometimes
I run things by you.
Godfather Part 2, I did not know.
What?
I did not know you were doing Godfather Part 2.
And
but I knew.
And this is actually a Part 3. So I should be.
Is this the first
doing
podcast to
Pacino,
use the terms
once
Part 3?
Once you're out, they bring me back in. Remember that scene?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly it, but.
That was a bad Al Pacino, actually.
Yeah, it was not. It was not one of your better impressions, but we'll let it go.
So let's segue into vitamin D.
Man, I always do that line. I can't think of it now. I'm really good at that one.
What?
The one that you just did, but I can't remember the exact line.
Maybe it'll come to you later.
Maybe.
So just to wrap up, just to set up this third episode, we are going to go into how we should take vitamin D in. Okay. Like we talked last time about blood levels. Well, it's got to come from somewhere, right?
It is.
So the 3 places the 3 options we have are food,
sunlight,
and supplements.
Supplements, of course.
Right, and we'll finish with that.
Yes.
We'll first talk about food, which, look, we're always about food first. And if it's possible, which these days, given the state of the soil and diet in general,
Not an easy thing
it's
to
not
do.
easy. And vitamin D is one of those nutrients that I would argue is virtually impossible to get therapeutic doses from your food.
Mm.
So the foods that will give us some vitamin D happen to be good choices. Oily fish, right? Salmon, mackerel, sardines, tuna. Okay. So those are good foods for other reasons, and you'll get some D there, but not a ton. Egg yolk. We now are not afraid of the egg. So the egg yolk is okay to eat, and it's loaded with nutrients. You know, one of the other things that an egg yolk will bring you?
Vitamin E, lecithin, good cholesterol, protein, choline.
Choline is a nutrient that's very important because it's part of acetylcholine, which is involved in synaptic transmission.
Neurotransmitter.
Egg yolk is top for that.
Nice.
So another way to get it in food is, believe it or not, irradiated mushrooms.
Who thought that was a good idea?
I don't know, but it's my way of going into a little bit of a topic between the difference between vitamin D2 and vitamin D3.
I actually was going to ask you, like, who thought, we got this sun, we got this food, let's irradiate mushrooms.
Yeah, well,
like what?
Well, think of a vegetarian. Okay, so vegetarians, if they need a food, they're not eating what we just mentioned. So the mushrooms, but this is an important point. Vitamin D3 will come from animal sources.
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin D2 will come from plant sources. And it turns out humans, we're animals, so we do better with vitamin D3 than vitamin D2. I'm going to talk a little more about that difference when I go into bolus dosing later, but just keep that in mind. All right, so those are the foods. Then you have, I don't call them.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the sun.
I don't call them. No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Why would you think?
I don't know.
Then we have, I can't even call them foods, but they're fortified foods.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
I forgot about the fortified
And unfortunately, a lot of young people in the world are getting their vitamin D from So what does fortified mean? Fortified is you have something like a flour, you strip every single nutrient out of it, and then you put back in what you think it needs.
Oh.
Fortified, okay? So some foods are fortified with vitamin D. Ready for the list? Breakfast cereal.
Woo-woo.
Milk, orange juice. Okay. Orange juice, maybe, fresh squeeze. Okay. But I would not recommend you rely upon Fruit Loops and with some milk and a side glass of Tropicana. I would recommend that not be your first choice
to break the
vitamin
fast.
D intake. All right. So anything more about foods? No. Now we have to talk about the sun. Now, okay, you're gonna do
the sun, the
sunlight.
I love the light. I love the sunlight.
As you know, humans, animals in general, have the ability to make vitamin D3 from sun. We're going to get a little more detailed about this. But first, I want to take a step back. And I want to look at, because I think this is one of, we kept talking about interesting tangents. I think this is an interesting tangent.
Do share.
The electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay.
I don't feel your
I'm just thinking about how much we have to, it's exciting. It is very exciting. I'm just thinking about how much we have to talk about the sun. I'm going
to do it quickly.
Okay.
So the electromagnetic spectrum.
Very exciting.
Looks at wavelengths, starting with long wavelengths like radio, for example, TV, Those are long wavelengths, and they're on the left side of this spectrum. And then as you go to the right, the wavelengths get progressively smaller. And the far end of that spectrum is gamma rays, for example. Super, super small wavelengths. All right. So we have the radio waves. Radar is also a long wavelength. Microwaves are a long wavelength. Then you have what we call visible light.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes from red to violet. Okay?
Yes.
So we can see that. On either side, so on the other side of red is
infrared.
And on the other side of violet is
ultraviolet.
Right. So it turns out, we were talking about this driving over, it's mind-boggling how narrow a slice of the electromagnetic spectrum is that makes us vitamin D.
Yeah.
So it's not only UV. So in the world of UV, you have UVA, UVB, and UVC. It's specifically the UVB, which is only the range, ready? 310 nanometers to 295. There's a 15 nanometer range. That's it. That whole spectrum, that's the wavelength that gets into the epidermis, changes 7-dehydrocholesterol into vitamin D. You got to admit, that's
pretty wild.
Pretty wild.
Yep.
So this is where we make our vitamin D. So it's from the sun.
Yep.
The other UV that we hinted at is UVA. And UVA is not a wavelength that's going to make D. It's going to go a little deeper into the dermis. So think of the skin as two layers. Epidermis sits on the dermis. UVB reaches the epidermis. UVA, because it's longer, will make its way into the dermis. Okay? In the interest of time, we won't talk a lot about the other side of red, which is infrared, but that's the whole red light story.
Yeah, we got to save that for another time.
But there are benefits from both UV, obviously from D, but also from infrared. You were going to say something.
Well, I want you to kind of give some actionable points about the sun. Time of year, hours in the day. What are the optimal times to get that vitamin D conversion in the skin?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
So there are many variables that will influence your ability to make vitamin D. Okay. As you just said, time of day. So we now know that it's UVB that's going to do the job. Well, guess what? During the course of the day, you're not getting UVB all day. Just because there's light out, you're not getting UV. You'll get UVA, but not UVB. So UVB happens when the sun is pretty much directly overhead. So if you're talking about during the day, 11:30 to 1:30, somewhere in there, that's when
peak.
The sun is high enough so that now you're going to get UVB exposure. So if you think you're going to the beach at 10 a.m. and then you're going to go inside because it's too hot and then come back out at 4 p.m.,
you've missed the window.
You didn't make any vitamin D whatsoever.
Right.
And this is a really cool rule of thumb, looking at your shadow.
The shadow test.
So if you're standing outside and it's sunny, you look at your shadow. If your shadow, if you are taller than your shadow, you're getting UVB. So peak UVB, it's like you don't have a shadow at all. It's right overhead.
Yep.
Okay, so time of day for sure.
Once it's long, it's over.
Exactly. Season.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the course of the year, you're more likely, see, it's all about the sun going overhead.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with the solar equinox, the summer solstice, June 21st. And that day, the sun is at its peak. So you're going to get more UVB on that day because the sun is overhead, directly overhead, longer than any other time of the year. And when you go to December 21st, the winter solstice,
The weakest.
instead of the sun going over in an arc, it's going off to the side. So it's still arcing, but the time that the sun is out is less, and you're hardly getting any UVB at that point.
Right.
So winter is when you're not going to make your vitamin D from the sun.
So the general rule of thumb, though, like you're talking about peak moments, general room is what, April to October? Are we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And I get a lot of people in Florida saying, we get vitamin D all year round. We're in Florida. Do you want to speak on that?
Well, let's put it this way. Latitude is also a factor. So here in Florida, we will have more days in the year
Right.
where we're going to get UVB compared to when we were in New York.
Right.
Because the sun is simply in the sky longer. And by the way, just getting back to winter, isn't it interesting that we call winter flu season and people get sick? And there is a direct correlation between these types of infections and low vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
You're more likely to have low vitamin D in the winter than in the summer. And if you recall, one of the proteins we mentioned in a prior episode, they were the antimicrobial peptides. We have the ability to make proteins to fight bacteria and viruses, and you're less likely to do that in the winter.
Right.
So that's flu season.
Or is it vitamin D insufficiency season?
And there's also, we mentioned in a previous episode, the connection between low D and depression. And we have something known as seasonal affective disorder because you're not getting the same amount of vitamin D in the winter.
So let's move forward and let's talk about safe dosing with the sun. Like, how do you do? Because most people, before they even walk out the door, they slather themselves with sunscreen. And they've been taught to be afraid of the sun, which I never got. I always felt better in sunlight. So talk about that.
I will. And I just want to mention a couple of other variables that are important. Skin color.
Oh, right.
And it's a fact that the darker your skin, the less able you are to make vitamin D because melanin, which gives skin its color, so the darker you are, the more melanin you have in your skin, pretty much acts like a blockade, and it just makes it more inefficient to convert the 7-dehydrocholesterol to vitamin D, which is why the darker your skin, the more likely you are to be vitamin D deficient if you're only relying on the sun. And we could talk a little more about that later, but just keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Skin color and age.
Yep.
As we get older, we have less 7-dehydrocholesterol in our epidermis, so it's more difficult to make vitamin D from the sun as we get older. Okay.
Well, that stinks.
In terms of dosing.
Now we're still talking about the sun.
We're talking about the sun, and we will kind of move a little into a conversation about sunscreen. I did a little homework on that because it's
important.
It's a hot topic.
Yes, it is.
And we just want to make sure we're giving the listeners, informed, evidence-based information.
Absolutely.
I'm not a big fan of sunscreen.
Neither am I.
But that doesn't mean I should be telling everybody never use it. So
there's different ways to screen the sun as well, too. But go on.
So let's talk about, ultimately the sunscreen is to prevent a sunburn. We'll leave that there. So now let's go back.
Guess what the body does?
What?
Guess what the body does?
Well, we have an alarm system built into our bodies.
Imagine that.
Now, also keep in mind, we're talking about UVA and UVB at the same time here.
Yes.
This is specifically about UVB.
Right.
UVB is going to hit the skin, and at a certain point, it's going to get pink. Okay? And that is really the only alarm you need to know
You've had enough.
you've pretty much had enough.
And it can happen as early as 10 minutes, 10
Right.
to 15 minutes. That's all you need.
And,
Without
again, the skin color factors in. Lighter the skin, it's going to happen a lot quicker. But I think that's a very sensible way to monitor your dosing from the sun. And when the skin is getting pink, get out of the sun, put on a hat, put on a shirt,
have an umbrella
get
at
an
the
umbrella.
beach.
Okay.
And there are long sleeve shirts with ventilation. I know it sounds crazy in the summer, you got to put a long sleeve shirt on, but there are breathable fabrics with ventilation that can help people do this safely and not be sweltering.
So let's talk about sunscreen.
Hat, umbrella. Sorry.
Sunscreen makes sense if you realize that it's not for you to put it on and stay in the sun for a much longer period of time. Because first of all, there are two kinds of sunscreens. And the ones that are very popular that just talk about SPF, sun protection factor, and the high numbers, that sunscreen is designed to protect you from only UVB. So you put that on, and it's going to take a lot longer for your skin to get pink, red. It's going to delay the sunburn. But those sunscreens don't screen out UVA. So now you're in the sun, you're not getting pink. You shut the alarm clock off, and meanwhile, UVA rays are still penetrating into the dermis. That is not an ideal situation.
No, it's not.
Because it's still doing damage to the skin. The other type of sunscreen is called broad spectrum. So these are smart sunscreens that filter out UVB and UVA. So if you're going to go for a sunscreen, I would opt for that, because that's also now going to protect you from the UVA.
Are we talking about the mineral-based ones, like the zinc and the titanium?
Well, no. Why don't you talk about those?
Well, it's the zinc oxide, the titanium. Those are more of a physical barrier than chemical.
Right.
And it's a really safer way to block the sun. And I like to use that for my face. So that's...
And there are less chemicals in that.
Yep.
So let's talk about this. I was going to stay away from this particular part.
Did I drag you into something?
You did.
Sorry.
But, because people think, well, there's another factor with sunscreen and it's very toxic and, these chemicals are going to give you cancer. And that's a big statement.
I didn't say that.
No.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Well, somebody may say that.
I talked about zinc
and I researched this. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what we can say for certain. One, any chemical that's in a sunscreen is absolutely going to be absorbed into your body. Transdermal absorption, you can't stop it. That's it. That's 100% certain. So now let's talk about those chemicals. I guess in a lab, you could show that some of them are carcinogenic, but the reality is the doses that people expose themselves to using sunscreen is really minimal. So to make the statement that you're going to use sunscreen and you're going to increase your risk of cancer, it's plausible, but you really can't prove it. What I did come up with in the research is not so much are these chemicals carcinogenic, but a lot of them are what is known as endocrine disruptors. So again, those chemicals are going to be absorbed into your system. And depending on the person and the genetics, these chemicals can have an adverse effect on your endocrine system, meaning it's going to affect the way you make hormones. That, I think, is something to consider. And then finally, the other thing that people rarely think about is, well, okay, I'm going to put this sunscreen on and it has chemical X, and chemical X has been tested where it's not a problem. That's what the research paper says. What about when chemical X gets into your body and is converted to chemical Y and then chemical Z? So these chemicals break down. Those could be a problem. And there's not a lot of research telling us what those chemicals are doing.
Right.
So with all of that, is it worth it? I don't know. Get a hat, get an umbrella.
I find the way we do it is healthy. We don't go out for long periods of time. We have the umbrella, we have the hat, we have, we enjoy the time out, and then we're done. And it doesn't have to be a whole day. And I don't know.
Anyway, well, I'm glad we were able to. There's still more.
Yeah, we didn't even get.
There's still more, but there might be a part 4.
All right. Well, let's kind of try and wrap it up with some actionable steps. So
let me give the trivia question before we wrap
the
things
trivia
up.
question. Yes.
The 2 elements that are liquid at room temperature are
mercury.
Mercury is one.
That's the one I knew.
And the other one is?
You tell them.
Bromine.
That one. There you go.
Number 35.
All right.
Wrap things up, will you?
Actionable steps. So a lot of this is so to bring a biblical concept in about information, it's informational. You're hearing it, you're learning it. Revelational. You want it to transform. So what do we want for our audience? We want them to have a revelational moment about the importance of vitamin D. So what are a few key takeaways that we can talk about? Number 1, what's don't be afraid of the sun. That's a big one. But
when you're in the sun, be smart.
Be smart.
Yeah.
Know that your body is set up to protect yourself. So don't be afraid of the sun. Know your number. Your vitamin D level is, as in the first episode about all this, is as important as knowing your cholesterol number, right? Because from knowing your vitamin D number, now you can talk about proper dosing with supplementation. So, and the third takeaway I would say is, how are you getting the vitamin D besides sun? Besides some decent foods is the supplementation. And one of the things you talked about was D3 has to have K2 in it. Look for GMP certified, and then your supporting minerals, magnesium, and what was the other one that we said? It's K2 and magnesium. So.
And then it's interesting. So again, at a later date, we'll go a little further. But I put people on a dose of 10,000 IUs a lot, depending on if they have low numbers. And people get very nervous about 10,000 IUs in a capsule. Full body exposure in the sun, your body will make inside your body anywhere from 10,000 to 25,000 IUs. So we need to talk a little more about that number, what the IU is and what it actually is.
Yep.
Don't be fearful. Anyway, we'll wrap this up. You are
Denise.
And I am Dr. Angelo. And don't let the rest of your life.
No, don't let the remaining years
of.
I was right.
Yeah.
Be the rest of your life.
Look, listen to this show.
The best of your life.
And you'll live the best of your life. Thank you very much.
Things are truly better with us.